Cosatu's 14th elective Congress descended into chaos after members booed off ANC chairperson Gwede Mantashe. He was meant to deliver a message of support from the ANC yesterday, but delegates demanded he leave, chanting Hamba Gwede and singing Asna Mali, or we have no money. Let's find out what this means for the brand, the ANC, from reputation management expert Solly Moeng, who joins us now virtually. Mr. Moeng, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. Let's start with the fact that this is not the first time that workers are rejecting the ANC. We all remember what happened on the 1st of May in Rustenburg when President Cyril Ramaphosa tried to speak to them. So this clearly shows that even those who are part of the tripartite alliance have lost hope, really.
Well, yes and no. Look, we shouldn't be fooled by Cosatu. Cosatu is a spoiled bread that wants to have its cake and eat it, okay? The Cosatu president recently said, look, even despite the mistakes that the ANC has made, it's the best party to keep in party under the circumstances. So the Cosatu keeps in between elections pretending as if it's not part of the tripartite alliance, that it's not represented in the NEC of the African National Congress in Parliament, and then when elections come they are very, very clear they vote ANC. So I don't know what kind of sympathy they should get from us. This is just a theatrical play by Cosatu. They need to be clear. Do they want the ANC to govern South Africa into the future or not? Do they have to be tied to the ANC to the hip or not? It says a lot more about Cosatu than about the ANC.
Well, you know, that's also in terms of the fact that how the public perceives Cosatu and the ANC. Not that there's not that there's a lot of reputation that we need to really talk about. That's obviously relative to some South Africans because of what we've seen happen. But all of this, what happened on the 1st of May and what happened yesterday, it might be that the tripartite is okay with it and they're just playing theatrics, but the country is looking.
Yeah, definitely. The country is looking, and we should hope that more Cosatu people who are also South Africans, just like you and me, will stand up one day and say, you know what, we've given these people 30 years, it'll be 30 years in 2 years' time. Let's try something else. Cosatu doesn't have to be tied to the hip of any political party, whether it's the African National Congress or anywhere else. But for now, they're the ones who are going to be the first one. The president has already said we're going to support the ANC. Of course, individual members are frustrated. Their cries are real. People are losing jobs, businesses. You know, people are crying because they're not paid enough. Their salaries don't get even anywhere close to the end of the month. Those are true, real concerns we should all be concerned about. But then again, it makes it hard for us to sympathize with them. When they turn around and say, we're still going to give you the ANC despite everything. This is what they've been doing forever, since even when Zimbabwe was around.
But, you know, tell me something, Mr. Moeng, in terms of, you know, the internal reputation of the ANC and the entire tripartite alliance. I mean, for instance, we know that Nehau, which represents nurses, which is also affiliated to Cosatu, at some point threatened to tell workers not to vote for the ANC come November. And we remember what happened with the voter turnout. So it's not doing them any favors as the leaders of the tripartite alliance to pretend as if they're holding each other accountable. Because if it doesn't show, then the fact that people are opting not to even vote is still going to, you know, be a big thing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is such a good point. Look, a lot of South Africans are still struggling emotionally to make any move from the African National Congress, or the tripartite alliance, which have been quite, in the leading position towards the end of apartheid, the early birth of our democracy, and all that. They can't move from that to voting, say, for the DA, for other parties. Maybe they could vote for the EFF, some of them. But I think a lot of people we've seen over the years would choose to stay at home than vote. Even the late Archbishop Tutu, at some point, when he was really angry after the ANC frustrated the Dalai Lama's visa to South Africa, he said, I'm not going to vote. He didn't say, I'm going to vote for somebody else.
Yeah.
So the challenge, therefore, in South Africa, especially for those who aspiring, political parties in the coalition, in the opposition and elsewhere, they need to appeal to those people who are really angry at the tripartite alliance, but who are not ready to vote for somebody else. Nobody yet is really talking to those people, and the numbers are growing.
So let's talk about the developments in the ANC today, with KZN announcing that it's going to be backing Solly Moeng, the former health minister, to take up the position of president in December. eThekwini is their biggest region at the end of the day, and it does pose a small threat to President Cyril Ramaphosa in his campaign. But talk to me about Solly Moeng's individual reputation, not only within the ANC, but with the people of South Africa, who obviously read a lot about digital vibes and what that story basically did to his reputation.
It damaged it. It's a damaged product. I mean, I have no idea why any ANC brand would say we want this person to become a leader again of South Africa. This person, 150 million rands, that's a lot of money. During COVID, when many people were not able to earn income, they were not able to trade, this dude enabled, from everything that we've seen, 150 million rands to be taken out of the system when it was really needed. And people are still saying we want him. It's the same people who still will say we want Zuma, and all these people are lying to them. South Africans, a lot of the pain that this country is going through is like almost home-baked. We deserve it because we're making it to us. How do you take people who are so much implicated in criminality and designate them as future leaders who are going to help us? Exactly. How do you think suspected criminals can lead South Africa out of this? How do you make suspected criminals who are on the run from the law lawmakers? What kind of laws do they make to favor whom? Basically, you want South Africa to be captured again. You can't have our National Assembly filled with criminals who should first clear their names or have their names cleared by the courts, the criminal justice system. So it's very sad. Solly Moeng should not be anywhere next to the presidency of South Africa. If the ANC wants him, let them keep it, but they shouldn't bring him to become leader of South Africa. He can't. He doesn't deserve it.
Well, those in the ANC, in KZN in particular, would probably, I imagine they'd probably say, well, he resigned and he fell on his sword while investigations continue, and they believe that, that showed that he's an honorable man.
Yeah, of course, we should have another discussion about the National Prosecutions Authority under Batohi, Shamila Batohi, who's been making excuses over and over again. These days, when she speaks, it's like more like a politician asking to be voted for, making promises that lead to nowhere. We need to see consequences. South Africans want to know that the principle of equality before the law still applies to everybody. You can't say I've resigned, therefore I'm cleansed. I'm not cleansed until the criminal justice system fails with all the facts to prove that you did something wrong. Solly Moeng should be considered as somebody who cannot be touched, who should not come anywhere next to a public budget, especially after what is done to us. And so are many others in the African National Congress.
Yeah, well, as a reputational expert, and very quickly, Phala, if we were all to be honest, really is something that has dented President Cyril Ramaphosa's, reputation. And come 2024, there will be some South Africans who say, well, you decided to put this guy's face on the ballot paper to represent the ANC, and I don't identify with him because of what happened with Phala.
Yeah, exactly. He's tainted. He has not wanted to come up with, to be forthright with South Africans, to say this is exactly what happened. There are so many questions that he still has not responded to. So, basically choosing from one, say, between Moeng and Ramaphosa in the ANC is like choosing between load shedding number 5 and number 7. It's the same thing. We shouldn't be having any load shedding at all in South Africa. Ramaphosa is tainted material. He's no better. He doesn't have. And this is a painful thing, really, for South Africa. We do not have a leader who is able to speak from a moral high ground, to look at everybody else and say, please keep quiet. This is how we're going to run it. Because the minute he says that, and including Ramaphosa, they're going to have to point fingers at him and say, what about this and this and this and this. So it doesn't matter anymore who leads the ANC. The ANC must just go. Yeah. For the sake of South Africa.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us and giving us your opinion. There's a lot I could speak to you about, Eskom's reputation, etc. But I'll ask the team to invite you again on the show for us to continue with this conversation. That was reputation management expert Solly Moeng speaking to us there. All right, let's